The patrol ship moved slowly through the darkness of space. Captain stood at the viewing window and watched the stars. His crew had been searching this sector for 3 days, looking for raiders who had attacked a supply convoy. They had found nothing but empty space and silence. Then the scanner made a sound. "Captain," said his navigator, "we have something, small vessel. It is drifting without power." Walked to the scanner and looked at the readings. The ship was tiny, barely large enough for a few passengers. Its design was strange. The lines were smooth and angular at the same time. He had seen thousands of ships in his long career, but this one matched nothing in his memory. "Send a boarding team," he ordered. "Be careful, it could be a trap." The team entered the vessel 20 minutes later, listened to their report through the communication system. They described damage everywhere: blast marks on the walls, broken systems, signs of a violent battle. But then they found something that made blood run cold. "Captain, there is a survivor, one being. It is wearing armor we cannot identify. The armor is sealed and we cannot remove it. The being appears to be alive but unconscious." Made his decision quickly. This was beyond his authority. He ordered the strange vessel and its occupant to be taken to Prime. The Queen would want to see this herself. Queen had ruled the Dominion for over 400 years. She had conquered worlds, crushed rebellions, and built an empire that stretched across 1,000 star systems. Very little surprised her anymore. She had seen everything the galaxy had to offer, or so she believed. When she received the message from Captain, she was sitting in her throne room, listening to reports from her generals about border disputes. The message was marked urgent. She read it twice, then dismissed everyone from the room except her personal guards. The armored figure arrived the next morning. Servants carried it on a metal platform and placed it in the center of the throne room, descended from her throne and walked around the figure slowly, studying every detail. The armor was black with lines of deep blue running through it like veins. It covered the being completely, from head to feet. The helmet had a smooth faceplate that showed nothing of the face beneath. Strange symbols were carved into the chest plate and shoulders. The symbols were worn and scratched, clearly very old but still visible. Reached out and touched the armor. It was warm and she could feel a faint vibration beneath her fingers. The being inside was alive. "Remove the armor," she commanded. Her technicians stepped forward with their tools. They worked for an hour, trying every method they knew. Nothing worked. The armor had no visible seams, no locks, no openings of any kind. Their scanning devices could not penetrate it. Their cutting tools left no marks. "Your Majesty," said the lead technician, his voice shaking, "we cannot open it. The technology is far beyond anything we have ever seen." Felt a strange feeling in her chest. It was not quite fear, but something close to it. She had never encountered technology that her people could not understand. They were the most advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. They had conquered species with far greater numbers simply because their technology was superior. But this armor was different. This armor was beyond them. She turned to her chief archivist. He was an old with gray scales and tired eyes. He had spent his entire life studying the history of the galaxy, reading texts from civilizations that had died long before the Dominion was born. "Search the archives," she ordered. "Find out where this armor comes from. Find out what species made it." Bowed and hurried away. He returned 6 hours later, moving faster than had seen him move in decades. His hands were trembling as he carried an ancient data tablet. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I found something, but you will not believe it." He activated the tablet and showed her an image. It was old, so old that the colors had faded and the edges were blurred. But the image showed armor. Armor that looked exactly like the armor lying in her throne room. "Where is this from?" demanded. "The oldest archives we possess," replied. "Records from before the Dominion existed, records from the time of the first empires. He paused and took a deep breath. This armor belongs to a species called humans. They came from a world called Earth. Stared at him. She knew that name. Every child in the Dominion knew that name. It was a story told to frighten young warriors, a legend used to teach lessons about pride and overconfidence. The humans were supposed to be myths, stories, nothing more. The humans are extinct, she said slowly. They died thousands of years ago. Shook his head. That is what the stories say, Your Majesty, but the stories also say that their bodies were never found. Some texts claim they were destroyed, others say they simply vanished. He looked at the armored figure on the floor. Perhaps they did not vanish. Perhaps they were hiding. Turned back to the figure. She walked closer and knelt beside it. The symbols on the armor seemed to pulse faintly in the light of the throne room. This armor belongs to a myth, she said quietly. The Terrans, they are supposed to be extinct. But clearly they were not, because one of them was lying on her floor, breathing slowly, very much alive. As she watched, the fingers of the armored hand twitched slightly. The figure was waking up. Stood and stepped back. She gestured to her guards and they raised their weapons, pointing them at the figure from all directions. She did not know what was about to happen. She did not know if this creature would be friend or enemy, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. The galaxy was about to change. The myths were returning, and Queen of the Dominion would be there to witness it. She waited in silence as the armored figure continued to stir. The legend was waking up. The throne room was silent except for the soft hum of weapons powered and ready to fire. Queen stood 10 feet away from the armored figure, watching it move. The movements were slow, like someone waking from a very deep sleep. Tell me more, she said without looking away from the figure. Tell me everything the archives say about these humans. Stepped forward, still holding the ancient tablet. His voice was low and careful, as if he was afraid to speak too loudly. The records are very old, Your Majesty. Much has been lost, but what remains tells a story that the first empires never forgot. He looked down at the tablet and began to read. The humans came from a small blue world in an ordinary star system. They were not special in any physical way. They were not strong like They were not fast like They could not fly, could not breathe underwater, could not survive in extreme temperatures. Then why were they feared? Asked. Because they refused to die, answered. Every other species the first empires conquered eventually surrendered. They accepted their fate. They became slaves or servants or allies, but the humans never surrendered. Not once. Not ever. He moved to the next section of the text. The collective of was the first to attack Earth. They were an empire of machines and organic minds working together. They had conquered 200 worlds without losing a single major battle. They believed the humans would fall within a year. What happened? The war lasted 30 years. The humans lost battle after battle at the beginning. Their technology was primitive. Their numbers were small. The collective burned their cities and destroyed their fleets. But the humans kept fighting. They learned from every defeat. They stole technology from the collective and made it better. They built new weapons that the collective had never seen. Paused and looked at the Queen. In the 30th year, the humans launched a final attack. They struck at the heart of the collective, at the central processing world where all the machines were controlled. The records say that 10,000 human soldiers landed on that world. Only 200 survived, but they destroyed everything. The collective fell in a single day. Felt a chill run down her spine. She had conquered worlds herself. She knew how difficult it was to destroy an empire. The idea that a single species, fighting alone, had brought down something as powerful as the collective seemed impossible. That was not the end, continued. After the collective, other empires tried to conquer Earth. The Horde came next. They were warriors who lived only for battle. They had never known defeat in 500 years of conquest. I have heard of this, said. They are also extinct. Yes, nodded. Because of the humans, the invaded human space with a fleet of 50,000 ships. The humans had only 3,000. Everyone expected the war to end quickly. He shook his head slowly. It did end quickly, but not the way anyone expected. The humans did not fight the fleet directly. Instead, they went around it. They attacked while the fleet was still traveling. They destroyed everything. The cities, the breeding grounds, the food supplies. When the fleet arrived at Earth, they found a message waiting for them. The message said, "Your home is gone. Surrender or join it." Did they surrender? Some did, most chose to fight. They attacked Earth with everything they had. The battle lasted for 3 weeks. When it was over, the Horde no longer existed. Walked slowly around the armored figure, thinking about what she had heard. The stories made the humans sound like monsters, but they also made them sound like survivors, like people who would do anything to protect their home. If they were so powerful, she said, why did they disappear? Why are they just a myth now? His expression became uncertain. The records are unclear, Your Majesty. Some texts say they were destroyed by a great enemy, something that came from outside the galaxy. Other texts say they grew tired of war. They had fought for so long, destroyed so many enemies, that they simply wanted peace. They left known space and went somewhere no one could find them. And no one looked for them. Many looked, none found them. After a few centuries, the search stopped. After a few more centuries, people began to doubt they had ever existed at all. The stories became legends. The legends became myths. And eventually, most species forgot about them entirely. Looked at the figure on the floor. It was moving more now. The arms were shifting. The helmet was turning slightly from side to side. But here one is, she said, alive in my throne room. Yes, Your Majesty, which means the myths were wrong. The humans are not extinct. They are simply hiding, and now one of them has appeared in our space. Hesitated before asking his next question. What will you do with it? Considered the question carefully. If the legends were true, this creature was dangerous beyond anything in her empire. A single human had survived something that destroyed its ship and killed its crew. That same human was now lying helpless on her floor, surrounded by weapons. She could kill it. That would be the safe choice. One dead human would not bring down the Dominion. But had not built an empire by making safe choices. She had built it by taking risks, by seeing opportunities where others saw threats. If this human was real, then others might be real too. And if she could learn where they were hiding, what technology they possessed, what secrets they had gathered over thousands of years, then her empire could become something even greater than it already was. We wait, she decided. We let it wake up, we talk to it, we learn what it knows. The guards shifted nervously. They did not like this decision, but they were loyal and they followed their queen's commands. Stepped closer to the figure. She was close enough to touch it now, close enough to see the tiny scratches and dents in the armor, each one a mark from some ancient battle. I want to know why you are here, she said softly, even though she knew the figure probably could not hear her. I want to know what happened to your people, and I want to know why, after thousands of years of hiding, you have chosen to return. The figure's hand moved suddenly, rising from the floor. The guards shouted and aimed their weapons, but the hand did not reach for a weapon. Instead, it reached for the helmet. There was a soft click, a hiss of air, and slowly the helmet began to open. Held her breath. She was about to see the face of a legend, the face of a myth, the face of a species that had destroyed empires and then vanished from the universe. She was about to meet a human. The helmet split down the middle and folded back into the armor. Queen stared at the face that appeared beneath it. The human looked nothing like she had expected. In the old stories, humans were described as monsters with sharp teeth and burning eyes, but this face was soft. The skin was smooth and pale. The eyes were a simple brown color. The hair was short and dark. The human looked around the room slowly, taking in the guards, the weapons, and the throne. His eyes moved with calm intelligence. He did not seem afraid. Where am I? He asked. His voice was rough, like he had not spoken in a long time. A small device on his collar glowed faintly, and his words came out imperfect. You are on Prime, answered. The throne world of the Dominion. You are in my palace, in my throne room. I am queen, ruler of this empire. The human nodded slowly. He tried to sit up, and the guards stepped forward with their weapons raised. He stopped moving and held up his hands to show he meant no harm. I am not your enemy, he said. My name is Danny Cole. I am a sergeant in the Terran Expeditionary Force. Felt her heart beat faster. Terran, the old name for humans, the name from the legends. You are human, she said. It was not a question. Yes. The humans are supposed to be extinct. They disappeared thousands of years ago. Danny shook his head slowly. We did not disappear. We chose to hide. After the wars with the old empires, my people were tired. They had been fighting for generations. They wanted peace. So they found a place where no one would look for them, and they stayed there. Where? Demanded. Where have your people been hiding for all this time? Danny did not answer immediately. He looked around the room again, studying the faces of the guards and the advisors. Finally, his eyes returned to the queen. I cannot tell you that, he said. Not yet. I need to understand what has happened. My ship was attacked. My crew was with me. 3 people, Maria and Sam. We were ambushed by raiders near the border of this sector. I need to know if they survived. Made a gesture, and one of her advisors stepped forward. The patrol ship found only your vessel, the advisor reported. There were no other survivors, no other ships. Danny closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, his expression had not changed, but could see something hard in his eyes, something cold. Then they were taken, he said. The raiders must have captured them. I need to find them. You need to answer my questions first, said firmly. You are in my empire, in my palace. You will tell me why you are here. You will tell me why your people have returned after all these years. Danny was silent for a long moment. Then he slowly stood up. The guards tensed, but he made no aggressive movements. He simply stood there, looking at the queen directly. Your Majesty, I did not come here to cause trouble. My mission was not to contact your empire at all. I was going somewhere else, somewhere far from here. But my ship was damaged and I ended up in your space. He paused. I will answer your questions, but you must understand something first. My people did not return because they wanted to. They returned because they had no choice. Explain. Danny took a deep breath. For thousands of years, my people watched the galaxy from hiding. We saw empires rise and fall. We saw wars and peace. We saw species evolve and species die. We did not interfere. We did not want to. But 50 years ago, we detected something that changed everything. He looked at the viewing window at the far end of the throne room. Through it, the stars were visible, bright points of light in the darkness. There is something coming, he continued. Something from outside the galaxy. We call it the Hollow. It is a machine intelligence older than any civilization we know of. It travels from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything in its path. It does not negotiate. It does not conquer. It simply destroys. Every planet, every station, every ship. It leaves nothing behind but empty space. The throne room was completely silent. Even the guards had stopped moving. My people detected the Hollow 50 years ago. We have been tracking its approach ever since. It will reach this galaxy within the next few months. When it does, it will begin consuming everything, starting with the outer systems and moving inward. Nothing will survive. Nothing. Stared at him. She wanted to believe he was lying. She wanted to believe this was some kind of trick, some scheme by a clever enemy. But she had ruled for 400 years. She had learned to recognize truth when she heard it, and Danny Cole was telling the truth. Why should I believe you? She asked anyway. You could be trying to frighten us. You could be trying to weaken our defenses so your people can attack. Danny shook his head. If my people wanted to attack you, we would not need tricks. We have technology that your empire has never seen. We could destroy your fleets without warning." He said this without pride, simply stating a fact. "But we do not want to destroy you. We want to save you. We want to save everyone." "Why? Why would you care what happens to us?" Danny looked at her with those soft brown eyes. "Because you are not the only ones who live in this galaxy. My people may have hidden ourselves away, but we never forgot that we share the universe with others. The Hollow does not care who you are or what you believe. It will kill everyone equally. The only way to stop it is to stand together, humans and everyone else." Was quiet for a long time. She thought about her empire, about the 1,000 worlds under her control, about the billions of lives that depended on her decisions. "If what you say is true," she said finally, "then we need proof. You cannot expect me to prepare for war against some invisible enemy based only on your words." Danny nodded. "I understand, and I can give you proof, but first I need to know something." He stepped closer to the Queen, and the guards moved forward, ready to stop him. He ignored them. "Will you help me find my crew? They are still out there somewhere. If the raiders have them, they could be in danger. I need to save them." Looked at this strange creature, this human from the myths. He had just told her that the galaxy was going to be destroyed, and his first concern was for 3 people, 3 friends. Perhaps that was what made humans so dangerous, she thought. They cared about things. They cared deeply. "Find his crew," she ordered her advisors. "Search every database. Contact every informant. I want to know where they are." Danny bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Do not thank me yet," replied. "You still have much to explain, and you still have to prove that this threat is real." "I will prove it," Danny said. "And when I do, you will wish I had been lying." He said those words calmly, without threat or anger, and somehow that made them even more frightening. 3 days passed. Danny remained in the palace as a guest, though knew he was also a prisoner. Guards watched him at all times. His armor was studied by every scientist in the capital, but they learned nothing. The technology was beyond their understanding. During those 3 days, thought about what Danny had told her. The Hollow, a machine intelligence from beyond the galaxy. It sounded like a story told to frighten children, but Danny did not seem like someone who told stories. He seemed like someone who had seen terrible things. On the 4th day, her advisors came to her with a report. They had found no trace of Danny's crew. The raiders who had attacked his ship had vanished, but they had found something else. Deep space sensors had detected unusual activity at the edge of the galaxy. Strange energy patterns, movement where there should be nothing. Kept this information to herself for now. She needed to learn more about this human before she decided whether to trust him. "I want to test him," she told General that evening. "I want to see if the legends are true. I want to see what a human can really do." Was her greatest warrior. He stood 9 feet tall, covered in natural armor plating that could stop most weapons. He had fought in 100 battles and never lost. He bowed his massive head in agreement. "It would be my honor, Your Majesty." The next morning, Danny was brought to the arena beneath the palace. It was an ancient place, used for ceremonies and trials by combat. The floor was made of black stone, worn smooth by thousands of years of use. Above it, balconies rose in circles where spectators could watch. Sat in the royal box with her advisors. She watched as Danny entered the arena from one side and entered from the other. Danny looked small next to the general. He was less than 6 feet tall, thin and unremarkable. His armor covered him completely, the blue lines glowing faintly in the dim light, towered over him like a mountain over a hill. "Human," called down, "I have heard the legends of your people. I have heard that you are the greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known. I want to see if those legends are true." Danny looked up at her. "I told you, Your Majesty, I did not come here to fight your people." "This is not a fight to the death. This is a test. Prove to me that you are what you say you are. Show me why the old empires feared your kind." Danny was silent for a moment, then he nodded slowly. "Very well, but I must warn you. I will not hold back. If your general is injured, it will not be my fault." Laughed, a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the arena. "I have crushed enemies twice your size, little creature. I have never been defeated. You should be worried about yourself." Danny did not respond. He simply turned to face and lowered himself into a fighting stance. Raised her hand. The arena fell silent. Then she dropped her hand and the fight began. Charged immediately. He moved fast for his size, his heavy feet shaking the stone floor. He swung his massive fist toward Danny's head with enough force to break bones. Danny was not there. He had moved to the side so quickly that his eyes could barely follow him. Stumbled, surprised by the miss. He turned and swung again. Again, Danny moved. He flowed around the attack like water around a rock. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Was the fastest warrior alive, but compared to Danny, he looked slow, he looked clumsy. Danny did not attack. He simply dodged again and again, letting tire himself out. The general grew frustrated. He roared and charged with all his strength, trying to grab the human and crush him. Danny ducked under his arms and struck. It was a single blow, delivered to the side of his knee. The armor there was thin, a weak point that most enemies never lived long enough to find. Danny had found it in seconds. Fell to one knee with a grunt of pain. Before he could recover, Danny was behind him. He struck again, this time at the back of the neck where the natural armor did not reach. Fell forward onto his hands. Danny stepped back and waited. The general tried to stand. He managed to get to one knee before Danny moved again. This time he struck the other leg, then the arm, then the shoulder. Each blow was precise. Each blow hit a weak point. In less than 2 minutes was lying on the stone floor, unable to move. Danny had not even been touched. The arena was completely silent. No one spoke. No one moved. They had just watched their greatest warrior, the undefeated champion of the Dominion, get destroyed by a creature half his size. Stood slowly and descended from her box. She walked across the arena floor toward Danny, her guards following nervously behind her. "How?" she asked when she reached him. "How did you do that?" Danny looked down at who was still trying to move. "I have been trained since I was a child," he said. "Every human is trained. We learn to fight before we learn to read. We study every species, every fighting style, every weakness. Your general is strong and fast by your standards, but he has never fought a human before. He did not know what to expect." Looked at her fallen champion. 300 years of victories ended in less than 2 minutes. "What do you want?" she asked Danny. "What does humanity want from us? Alliance, tribute, submission?" Danny shook his head. "We want nothing from you except your cooperation. The Hollow is coming. It will destroy everything in this galaxy if we do not stop it. Humans alone cannot win this fight. We need allies. We need everyone who is willing to stand against the darkness." Was about to respond when a sound cut through the arena. It was an alarm, loud and harsh, echoing from every speaker in the palace. Her communication device activated. A voice spoke, filled with fear. "Your Majesty, our long-range sensors have detected something emerging from the void between galaxies. Multiple contacts, thousands of them. They are heading toward the outer colonies." Looked at Danny. His face had gone hard. "The Hollow," he said. "It is here, earlier than we expected." The Queen felt cold. The legends, the tests, the warnings, all of it was suddenly very real. The threat was no longer something in the future. It was here now. "What do we do?" she asked. Danny reached up and put his helmet back on. The faceplate sealed with a click. "We fight," he said, "and we pray that my people received my signal." "What signal?" "The one I sent when I woke up, the one that told them where I am." He looked toward the ceiling as if he could see through it to the stars beyond. "The one that told them to come." Stared at him. "Your people are coming here." Yes, and they are bringing everything they have. Palace became chaos. Alarms screamed from every corner. Soldiers ran through the corridors, rushing to their stations. Communications flooded in from across the empire, each one more terrible than the last. Queen stood in her command center, watching the main display screen. It showed a map of her empire, with red dots marking the position of the enemy. There were so many dots. They poured in from the void like a river of death, spreading toward the outer colonies. "Report," she commanded. Her admiral spoke, his voice shaking. "The Hollow's vanguard has reached the system. They are attacking everything. Ships, stations, planets. Our defense fleet engaged them 20 minutes ago." He paused. "We have lost contact with the fleet." "What about the colonies?" "Silent, Your Majesty, all of them. We believe they have been destroyed." Gripped the edge of the display table. In a single hour she had lost an entire system. Millions of lives gone. She turned to Danny, who stood beside her. "You said your people were coming. Where are they?" "They will be here," Danny replied. His voice was calm but could see the tension in his body. "They received my signal. They are coming as fast as they can." "We do not have time to wait. My people are dying." Danny nodded. "Then send your fleets to slow them down. Do not try to defeat them, just delay them. Buy time until my people arrive." Gave the order. Every ship in the Dominion that could fly was sent toward the enemy. It was everything she had. If this failed, there would be nothing left to defend the throne world. Hours passed. Reports came in, each one worse than the last. The fleets were fighting bravely, but they were losing. The Hollow's constructs were unlike anything they had faced before. They were machines made of metal and something else, something alive. They adapted to every weapon, learned from every attack. For every one destroyed, 10 more appeared. The enemy moved closer and closer to Prime. Watched the display screen as her empire crumbled. She had conquered 1,000 worlds. She had built something that should have lasted forever. And now it was being torn apart by an enemy she could not stop. "Your Majesty," one of her officers said quietly, "the enemy vanguard will reach the throne world in approximately 2 hours. We do not have enough ships left to stop them." Closed her eyes. She had prepared herself for death many times during her long life, but she had never imagined it would come like this. Not against an enemy from beyond the stars. Not against a myth from beyond the galaxy. "They are here." Danny's voice cut through her thoughts. She opened her eyes and looked at him. He was staring at the display screen with an expression she had never seen on his face before. "Hope." "What do you mean?" she demanded. Danny pointed at the screen. "Look." Looked. At first, she saw nothing new. Just the red dots of the enemy spreading across her empire like a disease. But then she noticed something else. Blue dots. Hundreds of them. They were appearing at the edge of the map, emerging from hidden jump points all across the sector. "Unknown vessels detected," the computer announced. "Configuration does not match any known species. Energy signatures are beyond classification." The blue dots moved toward the red dots, and as watched, the red dots began to disappear. "Open communications with those ships," she ordered. The screen flickered. A face appeared. It was a human woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a uniform similar to Danny's, but with more decorations on the shoulders. "This is Admiral Grace Harmon of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet," the woman said. "We have received Sergeant Cole's signal and are engaging the enemy. All vessels, please fall back to defensive positions around Prime. We will handle this." Stared at the screen. The human fleet was already fighting, and it was winning. The Hollow's constructs, which had torn through her fleets like paper, were being destroyed by weapons she could not even understand. Human fighters moved through the battle with impossible speed. Human warships fired beams of light that cut through the enemy like swords. "How many ships do you have?" she asked. Admiral Harmon's expression did not change. "Enough." The battle lasted for 6 more hours. watched every moment of it from her command center. She saw human ships sacrifice themselves to protect colonies. She saw human soldiers board enemy vessels and destroy them from within. She saw things that she would never have believed possible. By the end, the Hollow's vanguard was gone, not defeated, not retreated, gone, every single one of them destroyed. Admiral Harmon appeared on the screen again. The immediate threat has been eliminated. However, this was only the vanguard. The main force of the Hollow is still approaching. We estimate it will arrive in approximately 6 months. We will need to prepare. Found her voice. You came, you actually came. Sergeant Cole is one of ours, Harmon replied. We do not abandon our people. We also recovered 3 prisoners from a raider station during the battle, Torres, Maria Santos, and Sam Wright. They are injured but alive. Danny made a sound beside her. It was relief, pure and simple. His crew was safe. What happens now? Asked. Now we talk, Harmon said. Humanity has been hiding for a long time, but that time is over. The Hollow will not stop with this galaxy. It will keep going until there is nothing left in the universe. The only way to stop it is together, humans and everyone else who wants to survive. The screen went dark, turned to Danny. He had removed his helmet and she could see the exhaustion on his face, but she could also see something else, determination. You saved us, she said. Your people saved my empire. Danny shook his head. We saved each other. This is just the beginning. The real fight is still coming. Walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. Human ships floated alongside her own vessels, their strange shapes outlined against the darkness. They had arrived as legends and proven themselves as allies. The galaxy believed your kind were ghosts, she said quietly. Danny came to stand beside her. Ghosts do not bleed, ghosts do not fight. We are just people who chose to be forgotten. He paused and looked out at the stars. But some things are worth remembering. Nodded slowly. She had ruled for 400 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had believed she understood power. But watching the human fleet hold formation with her own ships, watching them stand ready to fight for a galaxy that had forgotten they existed, she realized she had understood nothing. The myths had returned. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. And for the first time in her long, long life, Queen of the Dominion felt something she had not felt in centuries. She felt hope. The universe was about to change, and she would be there to see it.